We're going to investigate a military base that officially doesn't even exist. High up in the Pamir Mountains, there's this shadow outpost that's kind of rewriting the rules of modern geopolitics, one satellite image at a time. This is the story of the ghost base of the Pamirs.
So, just imagine this for a second. What if there was a military base so secret that the country hosting it and the country running it both swear up and down that it's not there? Well, high in the mountains of Central Asia, that's exactly what's happening. The satellite images tell one story, and the governments tell a completely different one.
And this, right here, is the central puzzle we're trying to solve today. On one hand, you have the official statement from the Tajik Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I'm quoting here, "China does not have a military base on the territory of Tajikistan." Full stop. But on the other hand, you have clear visual evidence and steady reports going all the way back to 2016 that confirm there's a joint security base near a place called Shaymak, and it's run by Chinese personnel. So, what is really going on?
All right, to really get to the bottom of this mystery, we first have to understand the where, and let me tell you, it's a desolate but absolutely critical corner of the globe. You really can't overstate how important this location is. We're talking about the Gorno-Badakhshan province, way up in the Pamir Mountains, at an altitude of over 12,000 feet. The base itself is sitting at this incredible tri-border junction where Tajikistan, Afghanistan, and China all come together. And here's the most important part. It has a perfect view of the Wakhan Corridor, that super narrow strip of Afghanistan that provides a direct path into China, and what's historically been a smuggling route for militants, sometimes called the Nusrat Trail.
You know, one travel writer described the area perfectly. He said, "If there's a place that feels like the end of the world, it's Shaymak. And that extreme isolation, that's not a bug, it's a feature. It is the perfect cover for a secret military outpost."
The plot thickens quite a bit when we start looking at who is actually staffing this base. See, it's not China's regular army, and that little distinction, well, it's the key to this whole operation.
The troops running this facility are from the People's Armed Police, or the PAP. Now, unlike the People's Liberation Army, the PLA, which is China's main military, the PAP is a paramilitary force. Their main job is supposed to be internal security and counterterrorism inside China. And this difference is absolutely crucial. By deploying the PAP, Beijing gets to conduct security operations abroad while maintaining this plausible deniability. It's not a military deployment in the traditional sense. Instead, it gets framed as a counterterrorism action, which is a much easier sell internationally and helps them avoid triggering all those alarms about military expansion.
Let me put it simply. The PLA fights external wars, and the PAP handles internal security. But back in 2015, some new legislation gave the PAP very specific roles for overseas counterterrorism. This is the legal gray zone that allows China to project its power, secure its borders, without it looking like a formal act of military expansion.
Okay, so that covers the who and the where. But now we get to the most important question, why? What is the strategic fear that is driving this whole secret operation? For Beijing, this all comes down to their nightmare scenario, the Wakhan Corridor turning into a highway for militants to sneak into its far western Xinjiang region. The two main threats they're worried about are the Turkestan Islamic Party, or TIP, and ISIS Khorasan, or ISIS-K. And after the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021, that buffer was gone, making this fear way more urgent for China.
So this base, for all intents and purposes, acts as the cork in the bottle. It is a forward listening post, a surveillance hub, and a rapid reaction point. It's all designed to seal off that potential threat before it can ever get close to Chinese soil.
So how do they keep it a secret, or at least deniable, when it's sitting right there for satellites to see?
Well, the answer is in a very, very clever legal and financial arrangement. You could call it a rent-a-sovereignty model. Here's how it works. First, Tajikistan provides the land and the official ownership. So, on paper, the base is a facility of Tajikistan's Ministry of Interior. Second, China provides pretty much everything else: the money, the construction, the equipment, and most importantly, the PAP personnel. This creates the third step, a coordinated denial. Both countries can look the world in the eye and say, there's no Chinese base here, because technically it's on Tajik soil. This is totally different from a typical U.S. base, which is usually governed by a very public, long-term agreement. This model is built for deniability from the ground up.
And don't think this is a static situation. The evidence actually shows this shadow footprint is quietly but steadily growing.
Just look at the timeline here. It starts with reports back in 2016. Then, fast forward to 2021, and Tajikistan's parliament publicly approves a new Chinese-funded base, also in the region. That shows the commitment is getting deeper. And meanwhile, at the original Ghost base, recent satellite images show a lot more activity. We're talking new helipads, new observation towers. The shadow is definitely getting longer.
And all of this leaves us with one big final question. Is this deniable PAP-staffed outpost just a one-off solution for a pretty unique problem? Or is the ghost base of the Pamirs a new blueprint for how China plans to project power and secure its interests around the world in the years to come?